Early morning on 8th of September 2014, the flood engulfed the whole Srinagar. Chief Justice House was also underwater from 7 to 8 feet.
Hi, you're watching GK TV. Today we are joined by Justice M Kumar. He was the former Chief Justice of Jammu and Kashmir High Court. Justice Kumar, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Wahid, for having me.
Thank you. Let me begin by asking about your choice to pursue a legal career and then reaching the zenith of your career in Jammu and Kashmir by becoming the Chief Justice.
Well, my journey is long, but I can begin by saying that right from my middle classes, my father was very keen that I should join legal profession, and even at that stage he asked me to pursue Urdu classes because most of the documents in Punjab used to be in Urdu. So he thought that if I don't have familiarization, if I am not familiar with the language, then I will face difficulty later.
Right.
And then I was prominently participating in declamation contest organized by my school, then college. Then after doing my LLB from Patiala, Punjabi University Patiala, I started my practice in the trial court at Maler Kotla, district Sangrur. For 2 years I practiced there. Then, as the dream of my father was that I should go very high in the profession, he planned my career to go abroad. And my brother, Dr. M Kumar, he is a neurosurgeon, orthopedic surgeon, trauma surgeon basically. He was there in England. He organized my studies for my master's degree in the university there. So after, in 1979, I went to UK for higher studies, and then 81 I came back.
In 2014, a devastating flood hit J&K, and you are Chief Justice of J&K. And you too are stuck in these floods. So can you share your experience actually what happened on that day?
I can't forget the early morning of 7th of September. In fact, when I finished the court on 7th, I passed through the 2 bridges and I found that Jhelum was overflowing. But still, I had some guests in the house. They left at about 6 to take the flight to Delhi. And on the way, I was told that even their Innova car could not wade through the flood and they had to change to some bigger vehicle. They were able to reach and they reached their destination safely. But there was an alarm bell. But nobody imagined that flood could be of such a magnitude that houses like Chief Justice House will come under water for 8 feet, 7, 8 feet. And it was short of touching the roof. And early morning, it was about 2 o'clock, when debate was going on between the officials of the High Court and the local administration, whether I should shift to Hari Nivas or I should continue staying in the house. Mr. Akhun ultimately suggested, who was my personal secretary at that time, he said, "Sir, there is no harm. Pack a bag, go to Hari Nivas. If no water comes to the house, then you are safe at least. You can come back in the morning. What you lose?" So we decided to pack. But by that time, the flood water has reached from Badami Bagh very, very close to the chief's house. In Sonavar Chowk, one could see the flood water flowing. By the morning, the Chief Justice house was underwater for about 6 feet. By evening it was 7 to 8. So our 4 employees were also trapped there. They took shelter on the top of the wall adjoining the mosque. So with the great effort they were able to rescue. We were able to rescue them and bring them to the Hari Nivas. And the governor at that time, Mr. N. Vora, played a pivotal role in helping us, rescuing of the workers who were in the house, and later rescuing my belongings from the Chief Justice house, because everything was left in the house. But then, after coming to Hari Nivas, there was, no clear picture emerging. What is going to happen next? For how long the situation is going to be like this? So the next question was, what to do in this situation? So I wrote a letter, handwritten letter, which was written by my daughter, Dr. Misha. And those letters were sent to the Governor House, Mr. Vora, which was adjoining to Hari Nivas. So the handwritten letter when reached Mr. Vora, he said, kindly come over. He sent a messenger, and we in the evening went to his house, discussed the whole situation. Then I requested that since High Court is not functioning, there is no building, a temporary building for the High Court may be provided. And my request through that letter was forwarded to the administration. The Chief Minister held a meeting in Hari Nivas, the cabinet meeting, and they did not find any solution to my problem. And eventually they showed their helplessness. And Governor Sahab conveyed to me that they are finding it difficult to find a place. Then I said, okay, I will manage my affair, don't worry. But there was no telephone working. The Governor Sahab sent me a company commander who arranged a satellite phone at M6 Bukhari Road, who arranged various type of facilities like temporary washrooms, a temporary sitting place for the lawyers. All tents were placed in the lawns of M6 Bukhari Road, and within 2 days it was made ready, functional. So then, interesting thing, because you see, Supreme Court has laid down one principle, that is, all cases of admission to MBBS, MD, engineering colleges must finish by 30th of September. So I had to constitute a special bench to finish those cases, because otherwise student might lose their career dream of entering MBBS or MD or an engineering college or any other professional college. So Supreme Court deadlines have to be met. So I constituted a special bench, and all the petition concerning admission could be taken care of that honorable judge. But then very interesting petition came. Some people from Confederation of Indian Industry, Kashmir Federation,
Kashmir Chamber,
Kashmir chairman of the Confederation of Indian Industry came. He requested that people are suffering, there are insurance cases. I said, you have mentioned it in the court, you kindly file petition. Any help required, our staff is there to help you. Then petitions were filed, about 30 petitions were filed, I think, if I remember correctly. And the insurance claims were made. Somebody have insured the house, somebody have insured their commercial enterprise, shops, 50 lakh, 1 lakh, 1 crore, 2 crores. The insurance companies, according to law, were right in arguing that unless there is a survey conducted and a report by surveyor is submitted, they will not be able to assess the loss and they will not be able to pay. And since number of cases were many, they thought it will take at least 2 years. So I told them that 2 years is a very long period. By that time, the necessity of having insurance, that very purpose will be defeated. People are suffering right now because I had the reports from Polo View, from Lal Chowk, all over the areas that they were in deep problems. So I decided that, division bench decided that no, we must direct the insurance company that during the pendency of the petition and during the pendency of the surveyor report, you disburse at least 50% of the insured amount. So if a commercial organization is say insured for 1 crore, they will have to have 50 lakhs immediately, so that there is some relief given to them so that they may come back to the profession. Because for example, a chemist, he had thrown all his medicine on the road, which were not usable. Likewise, any provision store, cloth merchant around the Polo View, they were all dumping their belonging, every item in the store on the road. So I have those reports with me. Then when the judgment was delivered, there was naturally some criticism because it was deviating from the well-settled law.
Yeah.
And according to well-settled law, no direction, no insurance amount can be given unless there is a report by the surveyor certifying that this much loss has been suffered and this much deserved to be disbursed. So I said that extraordinary situation need extraordinary remedies and solutions. Therefore, I am granting this. So it was slightly technical way of granting relief, but all the same it was an extraordinary order. But in the circumstances and to meet the requirement of justice, I think this order was required and it has served very well. Now, secondly, when you look at the data, if earlier in Jammu and Kashmir there were 10 people going for insurance, now it is 10 times, 100 people go for insurance. Because the people have no confidence that if something happened, High Court is there to get them their money immediately and we must go for insurance. A confidence building has started.
Yeah.
The system has proven right that if your insurance is not going to be waste, you can depend on insurance policy, you can get it encashed in case of any difficulty. That is the beauty of the system.
So in response to this public interest litigation, the government filed several these status reports and they had a pledge that in the future they are going to take very effective steps. Sir, you saw the flood and you are seeing now the post scenario of the flood. Is there any improvements on the ground?
Especially related to disaster management.
Because the rains can happen anytime.
Anytime.
You can see what is happening in Delhi now because of the heavy rains.
In Kerala.
Completely ravaged. In the buildings, water is 6 feet. In the basement building, completely gutted, completely filled with water. Offices after offices which are running from basement, they have been devastated completely. You go to Defence Colony, you go to any other area, Rajendra Nagar these days. So these management techniques, the drainage has to be kept clean. How they can, you see, a builder builds and put everything all the remaining sand, cement, they put it in the drainage. That should be, responsibility should be fixed on somebody. It cannot be like this that you build your own house and you can leave rest to the public authority. That is not the way. Public has to have sixth sense. You cannot keep on spitting on the road. It should be treated like your drawing room, your own house.
Yeah.
Sixth sense has to come. This is lacking in our country.
Sir, as Chief Justice of J&K High Court, several public interest litigations came before you and you heard them. In how many public interest litigations you feel orders were passed effectively and implementation took place effectively?
Well, as far as my period is concerned, large number of public interest litigation were implemented effectively. There was one chairman of BOPI, that public interest litigation came up before me. Then FIR was registered against some gentleman who was chairman of the BOPI, I can't remember his name, Mr. Chaudhary.
Mushtaq Peer.
Sorry?
Mushtaq Peer.
Mushtaq Peer.
Yeah.
So his matter was taken up to logical end. Trial before the special court. Ultimately, he was given punishment, sentence of 10 years, I think.
7 years.
7 years. And that public rent litigation bore fruit, and it was eye-opener. You see, students who were scoring 85%, 90%, they were not admitted to MBBS. Students with 60% were admitted. And when they failed in the first year of MBBS, then people realized what is happening. Then public interest litigation was filed that the reason is corruption. So the chairman BOPI, with some effort on the part of the High Court, he was arrested. And the type of money, the type of property he had at that time resulted in registration of FIR, which ultimately resulted in his conviction and sentence. It was very successful public interest litigation, and thereafter I must mention Bashir Ahmed Bashir was senior advocate. I appointed him as a amicus in that litigation, and he also did a wonderful job. Justice M Attar was my bench partner at that time. We were able to steer through and could see that there is a huge scam going on. Then the other public interest litigation during my time was the hotels releasing their refuse directly in the river. There was no STP. There was no treatment. So when I put a deadline that by this time you must have STP in your hotel and your refuse must be treated before it is released in the public sewerage, which ultimately go to the lakes. So I realized that nobody was taking interest, and I ordered sealing of hotels everywhere in Jammu and Kashmir, whole state. Whether it was in Jammu, Katra, and Pahalgam, Gulmarg, Srinagar, all hotels sealed. So then STPs were not that expensive a thing that you can afford to release your refuse into the, public places. It causes so much of contamination, unimaginable. People are going to fall sick. So that was also very successful public interest litigation. There was only one hotel in Gulmarg, Khyber, which has STP. Otherwise, you can imagine the whole sewage going into the land, untreated. what type of people we are.
So one more question related to it. There is a general perception now that public interest litigations are misused now, because many people come forward and file these public interest litigations, and at the end of the day, they don't serve any purpose because the entire exercise ends into a fiasco. Sir, how can this menace be stopped so that courts are not flooded with these frivolous public interest litigations?
Rashid Sahab, there is a inbuilt mechanism. Before a public interest litigation is entertained by the court, there is a committee constituted by the Chief Justice under the rules. Public interest litigation rules are there, and that committee scan the whole petition. If it finds that it is not a public interest litigation, it is a one person who is trying under the garb of public interest litigation to pursue his own cause, then they refuse. But still, as you rightly say, some of the PAL, they pass that test also. Then Chief Justice is in charge. He can see through some of the things and he can saddle them with cost. And you are right, public interest litigation is being misused also. That misuse must be stopped. I have no hesitation in saying that some of the lawyers misuse the platform of public interest litigation to advance the interest of a private person. Supreme Court has come heavily on these type of frivolous public interest litigation. But there is a duty cast on the High Court. If the government fails to perform, then there is a duty on the High Court to do even the governmental function. For example, there is no road connectivity to a particular village, and those villagers are facing huge difficulty. Despite efforts made, resolution passed by Gram Panchayat and government having full notice of everything is not doing enough, then public litigation for the sake of those villagers, I think intervention by the High Court is a must. Otherwise, it is true that it is a governmental function. Government should do it. But if the government fails to do it, then what to do? Then government sometime forward the argument with regard to finances. Yes, finances would be involved. If you are not able to see that instead of spending on luxurious things which can wait, the more necessary things like building
Basic
of road
necessities.
connectivity, there should be spending. That budget should be diverted. That is absolutely true that sometimes public interest litigation interferes with the policy of the government. It does. But at the same time, the High Court is the guard, standing like a rock between the citizen and the government to ensure that the fundamental right of the citizens are protected. If on the one hand you say you have a right to move any place, but you don't provide that right, you don't provide that road, how will they move? So those things, balancing has to be there. High Court, I don't think High Courts or the Supreme Court is keen to interfere unnecessarily in government function. But when they fail, then yes, they have to do it.
If we can come back to floods part, because this is a special episode on floods only. Tell us about your experience in Hari Nivas, where we are seated right now. Those 3 days, how did you spend those 3 days? Was there food? Was there water? How was the situation here?
Horrible experiences. The first day we could have breakfast and the dinner, but the next 3 times we had to miss the breakfast, dinner and the next day breakfast, because along the Gupkar road large number of people who were rescued from their homes they have gathered. Any vehicle carrying foods would be stopped by them. So nothing could reach Harinivas. So then one day Mr. Justice Jan, who lives across on Bukhari Road, he visited me just to find out my well-being. Then somebody told him that there is no food here. The Chief Justice has not taken the breakfast, lunch. Then he was very perturbed. He started sending the food from his house. For I think 3-4 times he sent the food, and not only my family but even the adjoining rooms and the residents, they were able to enjoy the food, and we were relieved of hunger.
Right. And there was no contact with your family as well?
Back home, yes, no family contact, because phones were not working, and there was hue and cry. Only one satellite phone was installed somewhere. Then they made a helipad here. From helipad we were taken to the airport, which were completely deserted. We did not have any ticket to go back to Jammu. We did not have any money in the pocket. Our even credit card, you see, everything was displaced. Nothing was with me. So being 3 clothes, we went to airport. Suddenly I found one Jahur, who was the High Court employee. He said, "Sir, firstly we have to walk down from the helipad of the airport to the reception area quite a bit." Then he saw us and he came running. He brought some water. We were very thirsty. And he said, "Sir, I will organize tea also." He served us tea also. Then he said, "Johur, I have no ticket." "Sir, don't worry, I will make arrangement." So he bought ticket, and later we were able to settle the accounts. And in Jammu, nobody knew that I am coming there because there was no communication. So there was nobody on the airport. So we took a car and went to the hotel there in Jammu. Harinivas Hotel, what is the name of that hotel? So we went to that hotel and had our food, because the house was not cleaned. Our Jammu house was absolutely. So late in the evening we were able to shift to the house. So that was the situation.
So currently you are member of the National Human Rights Commission.
I had demitted office.
So do you feel that there is more responsibility on National Human Rights Commission to consider the complaints of J&K in absence of the State Human Rights Commission?
I think you are right, but the National Human Rights Commission has very passionately taken up some causes. When I was the member there, for example, the question of appointing a reporter arose. One advocate from the valley, young advocate, Mr. Shah Amir, I named him, and the Human Rights Commission appointed him as the reporter. So he keeps sending the reports here for any human rights violation, and the Commission takes care of that. It's not that, yes, you are right, in the absence of J&K Human Rights Commission, there is a much more responsibility, because all the complaints have been shifted to the National Human Rights Commission. And I thought that at that time I will get a chance to deal with those complaints. But administratively some decision was taken and it went to some other member. And I am sure he has taken very, very strict view and have been able to give relief to some of them. If there is any particular complaint, you can mention. Even today I can take it up with the chairperson. Now the Human Rights Commission is only with one member. She herself is chairperson also, so acting chairperson. Even that we can still take it up.
Sir, how important it is to have State Human Rights Commission and National Human Rights Commission with a full strength?
I think the local problems and violation of human rights at local level, State Human Rights Commission are very, very important. And the National Human Rights Commission is also very important because the issues which touch the whole nation, and in the international body, what is our record of human rights, that also is required to be projected. For example, prisoners' problem. The prisoners, how to decongest the jails. There has been proposal that instead of lodging them in jail, if there is a sentence of 7 years or less than 7 years, those persons can be given electronic tag. Now this electronic tag can confine the prisoner to half a kilometer, to 1 kilometer, to 3 kilometers, depending on the enormity of the offence. So he can be confined to his house itself, or 5 meters here and there. And if he goes beyond that boundary, then alarm bells reach the police station and he can be arrested if he violates that. So that experiment has been successfully carried in a country like England since 1991. The proposal has been given to the government that instead of attracting huge expenditure and wastage of manpower and emotional breakdown between the family, they can serve by confining in 50-meter area or 100-meter area of their house. They can go and do the farming also if they are a farmer family. If a shopkeeper, they can run their shop. Instead of paying them in the prison, and reformist, the classes for their reformation can be held VC, or they can be asked to come once a month at a particular place. All that scheme has been prepared, but now government has to take action on that. This is one example I am giving. There are hundreds of that type of thing. Mental health, for example. During COVID time, mental health of everybody suffered because you were not permitted to go out of the house. You were not permitted, even interaction was very limited. So the mental health suffered. The children of those 2 years who were in 6th, 7th, 8th classes or primary classes or up to middle classes, they suffered. 10 plus, those children, those graduates are different. You can simply tell, for example, LLB people, classes, they did not have any mooting those days. There were no moots, so they suffered. So the mental health also, Human Rights Commission took it as a major project. We went to Jharkhand, we went to Agra, we went to Gwalior, where the mental houses are there. We involved professors from AIIMS, professors from Bangalore Mental Health Hospital. There is a special book published under my guidance that also takes care of many mental health problems. So the Human Rights Commission is very, very active, doing. Our chairman, Mr. Arun Mishra, he was very proactive and he rendered human service to the nation at that time. And in, you see, Geneva, New York and various other conferences, India's image has improved. Earlier our representation was not as effective as it is now. And it is going to be more effective once the commission is complete, start functioning fully. It has 6 members But I think government is going to appoint new member very soon.
Sir, one last question, I guess. Given the fact that J&K was hit by an insurgency, it has been 30 years now. So it's quite possible that once you have insurgency, there would be violent things, there would be rights violations from either sides. So do you think it could be wiser to have a full-fledged section for J&K in terms of National Human Rights Commission, where couple of members could focus on J&K itself?
J&K, yes, why not? If you see northeast J&K, where the human rights violations are much more than in other states, there can be special members dedicated to these things. But otherwise, I think even as I said earlier, one member was given J&K cases in order to ensure that justice is done. No human rights violation continues and it must stop. This is a very, very challenging area, northeast and Jammu and Kashmir. But I think the government has very good intention. I can say it on record. Government has intention to make state of Jammu and Kashmir absolutely peaceful. You see, if peace prevails, then growth occurs. Economic prosperity comes. No businessman will like to invest in a turbulent area because he knows that his money is going to be waste. So the present government, I think, has the intention that Kashmir, Jammu and Kashmir should be peaceful and its growth should be sky high. They want it to open to the whole world so that it may thrive, it may prosper. You have so much of potentials to offer to the world. Your industry, handicraft industry, recently international body has recognized it as a
Crafts tea, Srinagar, yeah.
Special honor has been given to the Jammu and Kashmir craft by the international body. So there is no doubt that if there is a peace, there is a growth.
Yeah.
There is a commerce, there is a trade. Otherwise everything disappears. Terrorism or any extreme activities is not going to solve the problem. We must understand this.
Right.
So you have been a very incompetent part of this National Human Rights Commission. Most of the orders that come from the Commission are recommendatory in nature. Do you feel there is certain requirement so that there could be an effective direction so that these orders are implemented?
Rashid ji, it is common man's perception that we are recommendatory, human rights commissions are recommendatory. But the type of sensation it creates, the type of impact it brings on the government, they are implemented.
Even if it is recommended.
Yes, they are implemented. Supreme Court has in one judgment said that these are almost binding. They have not said completely binding, they are almost binding. Although some high courts have differed, Allahabad High Court differed, but Supreme Court has said this is almost binding. So it has such a persuasive value, it has such a, such a value that it compels the state to recognize it and implement it.
So doesn't this almost binding dissipate the entire
No,
exercise
no,
Commission
no.
carries out?
No, you see, sometimes if the state finances are in such a state that it is not possible to implement the whole part, they implement partially according to the permissible finances. So that is why Supreme Court might have used this expression. So this is not that, even the high courts have said something like that, and the matters are still pending that it should be made binding. It should be, and why it is recommendatory, I will explain, because legally speaking, constitutionally speaking, if anybody other than the High Courts and the Supreme Court are empowered to issue binding directions, then it is extending the writ jurisdiction to all the bodies, which would be against the Constitution.
Yeah.
So that is why the courts are not very keen to say that even the Commission's findings are binding. Absolutely. That is why.